Audio Jungle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another episode of The Cuff. Thank you for watching all the other episodes so far. I think it's been successful. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like and don't forget to turn on your notifications. My guest today, special guest today, is a very good friend of mine. There's lots I can say and tell you about him, but we have him here today, and I'm lucky to have Garnett Kruger here with us. Welcome, Garnett Kruger.
Hi, good afternoon, Joey. How are you doing?
I'm alright, man. Yesterday, Garnett, ek sien jy het mooi gebou daar agter, man.
Ja, ek hou myself besig, ja.
Nee, kwaai, this guy. Check here, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't know who's Garnett, if you love cricket, you'll know who he is. He's one of the guys that, in my opinion, had the worst deal. I don't like the word opinion. I think it needs to be scrapped. In my observations, he had the worst deal ever with South Africa. He was selected to go to on the back of taking the most wickets in domestic cricket, and he went to Australia, and he was carrying the drinks. Sorry. Garnett, tell us, what season was that, my friend?
Joey, if I can recall, because to me it feels like a lifetime ago. I won't say I forget it. It pops up now and again. But I think it was 2016. The year that
2006, 2007, yeah. How many wickets did you take that season?
If I remember correctly, I was on 38. First class wickets, yeah, after 8 games, with a couple of games to go, yeah.
And at that time you were like bowling 145 as a normal thing. It's like, yeah, your slower ball was like 120.
Yeah, listen, I to be honest, just before that, I had a good pre-season and everything just clicked. So it took me a while to work out as a bowler what you need to do, the formula. So I was working on a couple of things to work on: consistency, speed, fitness, strength. And I think with all the years of experience, I came to that point where I kind of knew what I was doing, and that season started off very well for me. I bowled well, and obviously we played in the conditions that was conducive for fast bowling that season too. So I played in Durban, bowled well in Durban at the Wanderers. Potts was a fast wicket as well, as I can remember. And then, like I said, it just all came together for me in that season.
Is that Jackson? For those of you that don't know, Garnett's child is Jackson, and yeah, it's a gruwelike.
Yeah, he keeps me.
Yeah, that's a good word. So Garnett, he keeps you busy now, eh? So you also from Galvindale, ne? Tell us about where you grew up in Galvindale, because when I interviewed the other guys, they were speaking fondly on how you and Dion Carolus were bowlers back then, and you bowled to batters like Ashwell Prince and Robbie P and guys from there. Tell us how it was growing up there in Galvin, and who played important roles besides your parents, besides your father, in your cricketing career, basically.
Yeah, Joey, so it all started in 1977. I was born in Port Elizabeth, Livingston Hospital. And that's not far from Corsten. So Shoulder is where my mother grew up. So just below Shoulder, there was Corsten, and then across Stanford Road, you had the industrial area, and the hospital was the Livingston Hospital. And that's where my mother gave birth to me in 1977. And as a matter of fact, that same year, Galvindale Cricket Club was established by the founders, just to make a note of that. So As a youngster, growing up in Galvindale, as most of the guys will tell you, there was always people playing sport in the streets. My father also loved sports. He would watch all sports. And Sundays and Saturdays, when there's a gap in our family proceedings after church, we would rush away to go and watch sport. We used to go and watch the likes of Bravo Jacobs. So my father was also a teacher, so he knew, and he knew where to go. He knew to, he would tell me that, yeah, Hotspurs is playing against Blackpool on Saturday afternoon and stuff. So he would tell me, if you want to go with, I'm going at this time because I want to watch a game before that. Cricket as well, we would go as a youngster, we would go to the Wolfson Stadium to go watch day and night games. So I was very fortunate to grow up with sports being around me, and the sports field being so close to where we lived. It was a lekker walk. I would say it was about a K, just over a K's walk from Parkside, where I initially ended up, or where my father initially ended up staying, to the grounds. And it was uphill for me to go back. So that as well was fitness in itself, just to go and get your kit if you left it at home and to go down. And then also our running to and from practices. Because as a youngster, I went to Papenkel Primary, same school as Ashwell, where we were introduced to the game of cricket, but there wasn't cricket. So we played school cricket at the school amongst ourselves as boys during break, morning, break times, afternoon if we had to conclude a game. And then Mr. Abdullah, he was our fitness teacher, LO, PT, we used to call it back in the day.
Not yellow.
Yeah.
Now yellow is life orientation.
Oh,
and when we were growing up, it was voorlichting and PT, physical training.
PT, yeah. So one of the days he just brought out pads and he showed us pads like he did with all the other sporting codes. Back in the day, we had bokkies, so there was an opportunity for us to run and jump on bokkies. He would just give us the basics of all sports, soccer. So cricket was one of the games that obviously really intrigued me, the whole thing about it. And we, at primary school already, we started playing against other streets, against the other areas, and also against other schools. I still remember two of my best friends, Clinton Kyler and Earl Bartman. I used to go down to them because they used to live in one street. And as a matter of fact, Earl Bartman and Clinton Kyler lives diagonally opposite Kalen Swartz, which you also did an interview with. So we would play in their street, and then obviously we'd play versus other teams. And I used to play with my guys in Parkside too, in my street where I used to live. So there would be multiple cricket games or things going on at primary school level already for us, but not at school. We never played at school. When I went to high school, Calvin High, that's where I got introduced to Mr. Simon and the game of cricket. Now I'm talking about the game of cricket. And his first board of call was, you have to look and act like a cricketer before you can be a cricketer. So his picture of a cricketer was a gentleman in white robes, standing there with his shirt, white pants. Back in the day, they used to iron their pants, and your white shoes, white socks. Now, you can't play cricket with black shoes or black socks. So Mr. Simon was actually where the whole love and the understanding for the game started, just by looking like a cricketer first, before even playing the game.
So, Mr. Simon, like every single interview that I did, Mr. Simon had some sort of influence on that person. So tell us about this Bangayat cricket. You were speaking about how you played against other streets and stuff. Who was the guys that you can just name off on the top of your mind that played with you there, that went on to become international cricketers?
It's basically everybody, Jody, Joey, that has played first-class cricket, from Ashwell Prince, right down to guys that only played first-class cricket for the Warriors, Rian Juggles, Junaid September, Clint Duplessis, and all of these guys played street cricket. So I stayed in Parkside, which is about, I would say, 500 meters in a straight line from the Banga yard. So from when I was in high school, I used to walk to Galvin High, which was probably also a K from where I stayed. So I used to walk past these areas, Galvin Park, and then Galvin, and that's how we played. We played that whole area. If you know guys and you meet them along the street coming from other schools and they've got a cricket game going or a team, then we would challenge them. So the Banga yard was, like I said, that in a straight line, probably 600 meters, maybe even further away from our house. So we used to take our team to go travel and play against their team. And whoever played for Galvindale Cricket Club.
Okay.
Yeah, in high school, we had our high school teams, but not all of the guys that played high school cricket played for Galvindale. Some of them just played the game because they knew it from the street, and some of them had talent, but they only liked playing street cricket. So the other guys, the guys that wanted to progress in the game of cricket joined Galvin Cricket Club. And that's from all the schools in that Galvin area and even wider. So there were 3 high schools, and those 3 high schools were Galvin High, Chapman, and St. Thomas in Galvin, in the area Galvin. And that's how Galvindale Cricket Club got formed, by taking the best players. Mr. Simon, chose the best players from those 3 schools. And that's also how we met as cricketing friends, by finding out about club cricket through playing school cricket and street cricket. So we were comfortable with each other because we would play street cricket competitively against each other. We would sometimes set up 2-day games, and then we'd come back the next day. Or if it gets dark and there's a certain amount of overs left, then we would decide, okay, tomorrow we'll probably finish this game, and then we start a new game. So if they win us, then it's 1-1 in the series. So now we have to play a decider. So it would go on like that most of the holidays, and sometimes even after school. Like I said,
what you were saying, like what you were describing, is what Mr. Simon did, is what later in the early parts of development cricket happened already automatically there in Galvindale. Because I remember around the country when the SACB, it was still called SACB, and then they made it the UCB. And then the UCB had this development programs like all over the country, Fetchwa, Plascon, all these development, Norwich, around the country. And they would select the best players from the colored areas, from the colored schools, and then that team would then play in a Beckwood week, or on a week that is prior to the selection of the Coca-Cola week. What you just explained to me is what what Galvin Cricket Club did, that automatically. They did it organically. It wasn't a formal thing, but it was a thing. And it led to success. So we can speak about your friends and speak about Ashwell Prince. And Ashwell Prince recently said that Also in his interview, in my interview with him, he said that his brother was actually better than him. Tell us about that. And also, before you tell us about that, when did you decide to move to Johannesburg and why?
Okay, so let me start by your first question is, like Ashwell said, that he wasn't the best cricketer that Galvindale had as, because there was 3 good left-handers, Clint du Plessis, Nigel Brouwers, Ashwell Prince, left-handed batters, and they all played first-class cricket, EPP, and they all played in the for Galvindale, the same club. And definitely there was rivalry between them. So Clint could bowl, Nigel could bowl, Ashwell was just a left-handed batter and a very, very good fielder, good hands, sprinter, like he told you. So he was very quick across the field as a fielder, definitely saving you runs. But they would compete against each other, and it would just be the guy that give that extra, that push a little bit harder. And as you know from Ashwell's performances for his country, you know that he's got a good temperament. So that's just ultimately what sets you apart from the rest at the end of the day. It's just you want it a little bit more. And then obviously it's the opportunities you get. Because I can guarantee you, if each and every one of those 3 left-handers had to play at different provinces, they would have played.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in that, when Ashwell had...
Or if the system was different. Or if the system was different.
I'm not talking about dreams
in
now.
my observation,
That's
in my observation, you don't have to speak about it. Yeah.
Because I played with 3 of them, all 3 of them on a cricket field, and it was a mighty pleasure because you wouldn't do anything sometimes. If you're opening bowler, you literally would just be there because Nigel would come on bowling seam. Then there would be a Clint that can also bowl seam. And if they want to wrap up a game and they want to bowl, and obviously because it was 3 of them, they would always group up against us, against the other guys. So sometimes we wouldn't even bowl. So we had to force to get an opportunity. So definitely there was guys that was better than us that made it. I know I was bowling well, and then all of a sudden there was a guy by the name of Sherlock Kriel who became a South African long jumper. And also,
I know Sherlock.
Yeah. So
we tried to track down that guy.
Yeah, he was breathing down my neck because he was also bowling, cranking it up, bowling fast. But this was just the environment that was created for us to say that, listen, if you're not good enough, mate, you're going to have to step up or move out of the way. So there was a lot of guys that was brilliant sportsmen. But obviously, it depends on how much you want it. Obviously, Sherlock Kriel went into another direction. He went long jumping. But at the end of the day, it's just if you want it more and you push it more, the environment is there and the opportunity is there, and you really want it, then pay for the way. You definitely take it.
So the environment that you're speaking about, because all the guys that I also interviewed, like, and that's the whole reason why I'm interviewing you guys, is to understand what's in the water and environment that was created. So I can only imagine it, because it's like when you guys speak, I feel like, yes, I wish I was in that environment. And I'm sure most viewers that's watching can't believe that Galvindale or PE produce such amazing sports people. And so that environment that you're speaking about, tell us about that environment. Why was it like that? Like, for firstly, I just want to say something for the people that don't know Garnett, or so that haven't seen him play cricket. On a cricket field, he is totally different. He's a different person, like as he is in real life. So if you see him on a cricket field, you'll think, yo, this guy is too hectic. But in off the field, he's like one of the softest oaks you'll ever meet in your entire life. But on the field, he is like hardcore. Tell us about that. How did that come about?
So that is just the competitiveness that came out of me, and there's a story towards that. So I'm a Capricorn. 5th of January is my birthday, and playing for EP in my younger days, most of the time we would play games on my birthday. And we played against Transvaal back in the day when I was still playing for EP. And the band was playing for me, but I wasn't bowling that well. And I actually got taken off for bowling crap on my birthday. And there was a bit of a break in the game. I think somebody took a wicket and the band was still playing. And Shafiq said, like, I don't know if I was laughing about anything or smiling. And Shafiq just said, "Hey, it's your birthday. You can't bowl like that on your birthday. The way you're bowling, it looked like it's Transvaal, the team's birthday." Because I think I went for 10 runs per over during that game. So that just made me a little bit more competitive, think about my game, think about my role. And then obviously the whole picture changed for me. I became a little bit more aggressive in my bowling. And then obviously also with that, pushing yourself, trying to be the best, or trying to bowl faster whenever you can and whenever there's opportunity. That also just drives you to pump yourself more. And I think at the end of the day, that's it. If you get the crowd behind you as well, those are the things that motivate you. And for me, especially knowing how hard I work to try and achieve that, stay fit, stay on the cricket field, these guys breathing down your neck, that was important for me to stay fit. Sorry.
Jackson! No, hey, Jackson! Jackson!
Hello,
Jackson, I hear you got corona, Jackson. Jackson!
I'm a healthy boy.
Corona, Jackson.
So yeah, Joey, you know, that's where I learned just to be a little bit more aggressive, work towards a plan, what you want to do with a team, and that's your development in the game. Which obviously, the higher you go, the more intense, the more in depth your job becomes. It's not just bowling one side of the wicket now, because now you're playing against different lengths of players, so you have to adjust your length. So your progression as a cricketer goes by experience that you gain. Because when I played for, I was exposed to a high level of club cricket, also at a very early age. So at Galvin, we'd be a strong under 19 Galvin team. And that's when we had all the three teams combined. So we had a good record because we had all the good players in Galvin that were playing for the club from all the high schools. So from there, we did well. We'd get opportunity to play third team, second team with our senior players, with the more senior members of the club, the older guys. And then we'd play there and also do well and produce. So obviously, if you play at that high level as a young schoolboy with more mature players, then you're going to learn something. Because I played with Ashwell Prince's father, and he would make me a bet. He would say, for every wide you bowl, you're going to buy me a can of Coke. Those days, the can of Coke was R1. So it was okay. If you have a 10 rand, you bowl 10 wides. But I know back in the day, now it's expensive. So those are the type of goals these senior players at the club would set for us. If you're batting, and even if you're number 11, don't get out. Just don't get out. Try and bat as long as you can. Don't try and slug. All these basic things that you don't think is important at that stage. But the more you do it, obviously, the more you realize that, you know what, it actually, if you just do this, it works. But that's the type of experiences we got at the early age in our cricketing careers, which would obviously help us progress.
Yes. So that's my thing. So that's the most irritating thing, is that you guys come into the national setup and they don't know where you're coming from. They don't know that you guys been learning the basics of cricket when you because the strat cricket also. So they don't know that you've known the basics of, if you're a number 11 batsman, don't go out. A simple thing like that. So they don't. So it's already the system at the time, and so to a certain extent, right now as well, is that the people in power, the coaches at the time, or the people that was running cricket at the time, did not believe that a person from Galvindale would come and with all this knowledge. And I was reading. I interviewed Alvaro Peterson as well, and Alvaro Peterson and Ashel Prince, they were quite vocal about the opportunity, and it makes sense to me now that they weren't selected as quota players. They were players that deserved to be in the team, and how, because I always try to wrap my mind about around this, is that how do you prove to the press or the media or the cricket fan that actually I am not a quota player, I actually deserve to be here. How, what you just explained to me is that it's not somebody that was taken off the street and said, no, you're going to play cricket now. It was somebody
No,
that,
yeah. No, not at all, because there is a saying that it takes a village to
yes,
grow a man, to rear
yes,
a man. And that's what happened in our community. There is so many people that I can say thank you to, just for guidance, for advice. And even if it's that auntie in the street that would say, hey, you moet school toe gaan, moenie dit doen nie, moenie dat. Those are the people in the community that would also play part in where you're going to and how you're going to get there. All the
you know what
coaches.
the interesting part is that we don't have that stuff anymore. We don't have that type of community anymore.
Well, if you go to PE, I'm sure you'll still find it.
Yeah,
It's listen,
so
it, basically it's all over, but now I think it's just the violence in the areas are a bit more harsh. So your aunties are too scared to say what they used to say, because back in the day we were scared to reply to anybody. If they
yeah,
tell you moenie op die mure sit nie, moenie op die mure skryf nie, we left, and it's just simple sitting on the wall, but it's a wall, we're not supposed to sit there. Nowadays, if you tell a kid don't do that, they are like, you know what, I'm going to go Google why I can't do this. That's the,
yeah,
when you go Google this, why can't I sit on the wall? And that's going to be the explanation. Where if somebody older talk to you, show some respect, because you can go sit somewhere else. I mean,
that's the
really.
other thing. That's the other thing about all the guys that I interviewed so far, is that you have this one thing in common. It's that respect. It's like you're not afraid to speak out, and you're not afraid to stand for what you believe in, but it's always underpinned by respect for your peers and respect for the especially for older people. I spoke to Russell Domingo, and he was also like speaking very highly of Mr. Simon, this Mr. Simon. So I just want to throw a spanner in a spanner in the works here. How did it make you feel to go to Australia and they opened the bowling with Jacques Kallis, and all the other opening bowlers was injured, and instead of giving you a run, we lost the series already. Instead of giving you a run, although there was other bowlers there that you had to compete against, but at the time you were like the best bowler in South Africa. How did that make you feel? What was going through your mind? I know it was a cuck thing, a serious thing back then, and I don't want to make you upset again, but how did you feel?
Yeah, Joe, like I said earlier in an interview, to me it feels like it's so long ago.
Mm.
But every now and again it just pops up again, and then it just reminds me of, how unfair I was treated. But then also I look at how unfair the system has been since after apartheid to so many players. And if you as a player get left out of a team and in your heart you should have played, then for me it's okay. Okay, to be honest now, because there's as our people would say, worser things that are happening, like players getting punched, by their teammates. So for me, sitting here now, I'm like, oh, thank God I wasn't assaulted or that. But at that time in Australia, I was young. I was very, very angry, and to be honest, I didn't know what I was going to do, if I was going to talk, because obviously the team wasn't doing well. They weren't winning. And one of the things that I saw was lacking a bit was penetration bowling, which I was bowling fast, and the conditions was also in my favor.
Yeah.
But now, put that aside. I played in a warm-up game in Perth at one of the outfields, and I got 4 wickets by just doing what I was doing to get onto that tour, by just bowling aggressively. Yeah. So obviously after that first warm-up game, in the second warm-up game, I didn't feature a lot. So now I don't know why, yeah. So I was walking around the field most of the time. So after that first warm-up game, 1 or 2 South African reporters that was in Perth came to me and asked me, and I said, no, I'm feeling confident that, because as Ashwell said in his interview, that once it's out there, it's man on man, and it's just you getting used to that man on man. And if you're better, it definitely will show. But now, obviously, being the game of cricket, you need your team to support you and to rally around you. Because if you're going to be aggressive, you can't be scared aggressive, because the Australians will pick it up. So I really didn't know how I was, if I was going to give the opportunity to play, especially after that first 2 tests, how the team was going to react to me trying to be as aggressive as I can be as a bowler. And obviously, as you know, I didn't play.
Yeah. So here's my thing. And it's maybe a subconscious thing, and it's maybe they didn't mean to, but it's clear that they didn't believe in you. I think if you had to play now, it would have been different, because then they would have believed in you. The same way they believe in Lungi Ngidi or Kagiso Rapada. It's at the time there was Sean Pollock and Mananto Haywood, all the Andre Niel. So you had these guys that you had to competing with, and you started off on the back foot already, because they didn't believe in you. They were like, yeah, you're just a colored guy from Calvindale. I don't care if you took 38 wickets, maybe you did it by luck, or 34 wickets, maybe you did it by luck. Is that belief? So, and that's what Ash was speaking about also, is that when you were growing up in Straat cricket, everybody believed, when you're playing for Calvindale and you're the bowler, everybody believes in you, everybody supports you, and everybody's like, no, G, jy moet vandag bowl, or Ashwell, today you need to score that 100. So that belief system was there, automatically if you come from Calvindale, right? Now you move out of Galvindale and you go play provincial cricket, and then you play with guys that come from Selborne and Dale and Grey High, and then they went at schools, their belief in you is not as for instance, if there's a colored guy that goes to Grey High and he plays with you guys, they believe in that colored guy more just because he went to Grey High. So that's the system that irritates me. It irritates me. Just because you're from St. Thomas doesn't mean you're less than a guy from Dale. Yet, the system will believe that the guy from Dale is better than a guy from St. Thomas or from Chapman. And that's what we need to change.
So like I said, Joey, we grew up with a culture of sport, whether it's soccer, whether it's cricket. There was all sports being played, and that is how we grew up. And obviously, as I told you earlier, the guys that make it just want that do that extra bit more. They want to play more. They want to play hard. They want to go to nets. And especially if the facilities is there, like it was for us, whether if our net was broken, we would create our own. We used to bowl at nets where there was no nets at Galvin High, the school. We used to go to our net was broken. We used to, I wish we had phones back in the day just to show how we practiced. And then obviously we used to start off playing on a mat, which would bounce more, which would sometimes be dangerous to bat on without protective gear, without helmets and stuff. So it just depends on if you want it. If there's an opportunity for you to play a sport and you really like the sport, and you will go and find out about the sport. For us, it was just there all the time. Like I said, playing as a under 19 boy in the second and third team with your more senior players, hearing what they're saying. You know, I didn't even start to talk about the influence that
So Garnett, you were telling me
had.
about Dean Baptiste. What influence did he have on you there? Wait, before you tell me about Dean Baptiste, you remember those boots? Huh?
Oh yes, my Australia, yes. Yes, I remember those boots.
So guys, those boots is what Garnett Kruger wore in Australia when he went to Australia and he didn't play a test match. But you see that warm-up game that he was speaking about? This is the boots that he wore in that warm-up game. Here's it. It's very old, these boots. It just came out, the Puma cells, and he was one of the only guys that had it. And then I was fortunate enough to get it from him. And I was going to keep it. But now I think we should give these boots away to one of our viewers. What do you think, Garnett?
Great idea, Joey. Yeah,
I think.
Idea.
Yeah,
if you're
I
not
think.
going to use it, let's see who can win it.
Yeah,
one of the subscribers. One of the subscribers, baby.
Yes, one of the subscribers can win those boots. If and they're gonna Google it or anything like that. I think people is gonna Google it. So, but the question is, if you watched all my interviews, you would have known a name that came up in each and every interview of the interviews that came up, and he played a huge role in the development of sports in Galvindale. And if you are from Galvindale, you should know this already. So the first person that comments in the interviews with the name that I'm looking for will win these boots. And these boots is extremely valuable. You can't now want to go sell it. If you are a cricket player and you are a fast bowler,
cricket.
Yeah, not supposed to be cricket. And this is a size 12. This is a size 12. So if you wear a size 12 and you tell me what is the person's name that each and every person that I interviewed said, spoke about, you win the boots. Is that a fair thing?
I'm happy.
You're happy. All right. Don't forget, in the comments, tell me who's the person every single person I interviewed spoke about. From hockey players to soccer players. Kalen Swart was speaking about him. Ronwen Williams was speaking about him. There's lots of people. Robbie P spoke about him. Now Garnett Kruger also spoke about him. And I'm not gonna say anything about him further his name. But I just want to tell you that he's legendary. This guy, he's legendary. And I am sad that I haven't met him yet, but hopefully I'm going to meet him soon. So continue with, there's two things that I want you to tell the viewers, Garnett, is that one, what influence did Dean Baptiste have on you, and why did you move to Johannesburg? That's the
he enjoyed walking that much. He just did it. And I went straight from school after school down to practice, to wait for practice, because I think there was an hour and a half gap between the school ending and practice, but I was too lazy to walk back up. So I was sitting at practice. There was a couple of guys at net already. Clint Duplessis was there. I remember Sherlock Creel was there. So they were obviously there early, getting ready for practice, playing with one of those yellow cricket balls.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on one of the wooden benches, and I saw this red Telstar park a fair distance away, under the trees at our nets. And nevertheless, got up, started bowling and stuff in the nets, bowling to Clint. And then we had a bit of a break. Back in the day, I was more batting. So I was just messing around in the nets before practice. And eventually, time went on. Mr. Simon came. Aldine got out of the car when he saw Mr. Simon walk past the car to the nets. More guys are gathered now, our under-19 team. More guys gathered. And Mr. Simon introduced us, called us together, and introduced us to Aldine Baptiste. And we didn't make much of it, because we didn't know who Aldine Baptiste was. And and Aldine Baptiste said in his accent, he said hello. And I remember we looked at each other and I was, what did I say? So he was a West Indian accent. That was our first time actually engaging with foreigners, with somebody foreign. So when at the later stage I found out who Aldine Baptiste was, that he's a West Indian fast bowler that played a cricket for his country, obviously you're going to be in awe.
Yeah.
But I also had to go and find out from my father, because after practice, I went home, my father came from work, and I said, Aldine Baptiste was at practice. And my father said, yeah, he heard that, or I think he saw in the newspaper that Aldine Baptiste played one game for Garvendale. Like I was in the junior setup. I didn't play, I only played under 19 cricket, because I think that was when I was in standard 6 or 7, when I met Aldine Baptiste. And then obviously just knowing who he was, okay, and obviously seeing that he's a black guy, and he played for his country, which obviously we didn't know about West Indies. There was only black people. But that also said that if he can do it, and he's here, and obviously we found out about his life story, then we also started believing, and then he actually had the nets. I didn't bowl in nets. I bowled before nets, like I said, because he was parking there. And during practice, he said, are you going to bowl? And I said, I don't really bowl, but I'll bowl. And then apparently he told Mr. Simon that I've got a nice high action. I must bowl. And then I took bowling more serious, because he thought that I've got a nice high action and I'm going to bowl. And the whole team was like, did he say you must bowl? And obviously that's how it went. I listened to him. And it was also just fortunate that I had him there for most of my learning career, because he left Port Elizabeth, he came back to play for EP. Yeah. And I actually played warm-up EPB, EPA games against him. So he was there every step of the way in my growth, in my early stage of my cricket career.
So Dean Baptiste was what Malcolm Marshall was to Sean Pollock, basically.
Exactly.
And so that's the thing. Now, why did you move to Johannesburg?
Well, at the end of the day, it was a couple of reasons. But the final reason was somehow I had a feeling I wasn't going to play. If I play more for EP, if I stay.
Yeah, okay.
Because of the bowlers that was around, but also because of my relationship with the current coach. Because, and there's a number of incidents where he referred to us publicly as not being up to standard, and him being our coach, commentating and saying stuff. So you have a coach that is coaching you, that should believe in you, like we spoke about earlier, and then he commentates badly about you, and he calls you dead wood. I'm like, that made me think. But also, other teams spoke to me and said, why don't you, so there's a number of factors, but the final factor was I needed more exposure, which I wasn't told about in EP. And obviously, I don't think I would have gotten if I stayed.
Okay, so because when you moved to Joburg, that was the POC team.
Yeah.
The POC team.
Also, I walked into a changing room that probably needed a fast bowler at that time because I didn't have. Shukri got me there to try and bowl as fast as I can, basically. Yeah. And Shuk's words to me was, I'll take care of all the other stuff. You just need to bowl fast. And then the CEO at that time, Alan Curry, concurred. He said, yeah, that's all they want to do. Here's the wicket. You must just try and bowl as fast as you can. And with those instructions, what more could you want? And that just showed me that these guys really backed me. Yeah. And also what they said, that this is just going to help you play for South Africa quicker as well. And then obviously with that came Gordon Parsons, who helped me with my bowling. Like I said, the time that I was really bowling well is when we nailed it with how I landed myself and Gordy. So I knew I had control because now I knew what my problem was. And that's how late in my career, that's when I found it out. But when I found it out, so like you saw I had a brilliant season. But to come back to your question, what was your question?
It's fine. So now you answered the question. So you moved from EP because the coach in EP didn't believe in you, and you moved to a coach where not only the coach, the support staff and the CEO believed in you. And that team was quite a gun team because you had Charles Langeveld and you had Justin Ontong and Mac. Mac was the captain at the time, right? Neil McKenzie.
Yes.
He was a captain at the time. So that was a gun team, quite a gun team. Bodie, didn't Bodie also play in that team?
Bodie also joined us for a season, yes.
Yeah.
So I was signed first by Shooks, and then Justin followed. Charles followed the next season. And then we had Eugene Molion was in the team. So we had a lot of guys in and out, but we had a very, very good core of players in both departments. Charles Langeveld, bowling, Gordy, our coach. We had Friedel the vet. Yeah, I'm going to leave out some important guys that grew with me as a bowler in high veld conditions, obviously with the backing and the leadership of Gordy.
Craig Alexander.
Craig Alexander also joined later. So it was the coaches created a cool environment for us as players.
Ethan was also there, isn't it?
Ethan also came along at a later stage. Yeah,
Ethan O'Reilly.
So we basically, Shooks allowed us freedom just to express ourselves, just to go and play cricket. He would obviously manage us, which way we're going to play our games. And then you guys talk highly about Neil McKenzie. He also played a big part in how we played our game, and also how we conducted ourselves as cricketers, because, you know, we had so much fun in the team, but we would also have some sense of responsibility about performing for the team. So that was when we gelled those two perfectly together. And I would go as far as to say that we were more open and approachable to the public, because we would really interact with the crowd when we were playing.
So here's this is probably the last question and a key question. In terms of this Black Lives Matter movement and stuff, that dressing room, from the outside, looked like it was a transformed, all-inclusive team at the time. So would you say that it was an all-inclusive, transformed team where every single member was chosen on merit and they believed in each other?
Exactly that, Joey. And you know, that's why I mentioned Shukri Conrad as a coach, Gordy Parsons, his assistant coach, and bowling coach, and then also the CEO. And I think at that stage, Shooks just wanted to get the best guys to play together. I'm not saying we were the best guys in the country, but he put together a team that really enjoyed cricket and enjoyed each other's company. Whether there was anything else racial happening in the team or in the cricketing structures that we didn't know of, we were a happy team at the Lions for plus minus 5 years.
And then
it showed on the cricket. It showed on the cricket field.
Yeah.
And like you said, everybody was just playing for each other. We were having fun together. I remember how much fun we had winning semi-finals of T20 when T20 started in Durban. Last ball, we needed 4 runs. The ball went off Eugene Mollion's head. And you know what? If I think back of that time and how we enjoyed each other's company, and it was everybody who was in the team. So
yeah,
it was
so
nothing.
It was all inclusive.
Yeah,
it was all inclusive.
Yes,
and I think Mac had a lot to do with that as well, because he understood it.
Yes, you know, they understood that if you want guys to perform and be successful, you have to create. You as a coach and as senior players, you have to create that structure for them, that environment for them, because you guys are in control of that structure or that environment. If myself as a senior player has got a negative outlook on the game of cricket and obviously the team, then your players will feel that dishonesty, there's a dishonesty. Which at the later stage,
and then after that, Dave Noseworthy took over, right? Yeah, he took over. And then from my observations, it was a totally different dressing room until Jeff Toyana came back and then took over again. So my point is, despite what people say, and whether it's purposefully or not, if you grow up in a certain system and if you have a certain type of history, you're always going to feel that players from a certain race or a certain background or a certain color is what they call it, transformation players or quota players. Whereas if your coach like Jeff, there's no such thing as a quota player for Jeff, or for, like, if you look at the other coaches around, Eshel Prince, Robbie P, Lance Klusener, when Lance Klusener was at the Dolphins, same thing. There wasn't a thing. They didn't focus on a quota player, or that it wasn't worried about, hey, is this guy a black guy or white guy or who's good. No, it was you are first a cricketer, and
Then yeah. So,
yeah,
so the one thing that I still believe, and I don't care what people say, is if you look at inequality in cricket, I'm talking only about cricket now, then you will see in the stats which sports invest in very heavily is the correct keeping of scores. So now there's evidence of how your performance was, why you were dropped. There is evidence why you should have played. So that is all that my whole theory goes around. We can look at the dates, we can look at when you did well, we can look and then we can compare how they've treated other race players. That's
yes,
all. So for instance, it took me to play my first international game for South Africa. It took me 10 years.
yes,
Look at my stats. When do you think I should have played? And then compare it with whoever you think of other color was privileged. Same
yes,
with the batting. And there's
yes,
so many instances where
yes, yes. I'll give you a great example.
is blatant.
A great example. When JP Duminy scored at 160 in Melbourne, that
Yeah,
was his first test, right? One of his first tests. At that time, AB played 50 tests already for South Africa, or something like that, 40 tests already. Yet
yeah,
they were together in an under 19 World Cup.
yeah.
So
Joey,
that's
so like I
one
said,
example.
my whole thing is, if we can argue all we want to about why players are good, why he should have played. I say that we can go to the stats books and that will tell us. And if we don't believe that, let's compare guys' careers at certain stages when they started playing, why they played, why couldn't I have gotten that same privilege? Everything is proven there. It's amazed that people don't just stop and recognize that. There's
Yeah.
evidence. We made rules about transformation. Nothing has been done about it.
And yet, and yet, with stats, you don't need transformation because you can just make it blank. You can make
exactly.
you can make it blank. You can just say, this is bowler number 1, bowler number 2. Who should have been playing?
Yeah. Yes.
And like, this is batsman number 1, this is his average,
Yeah.
this is batsman number 2, this is his average, this is the amount of hundreds. We don't need to know their race. And then from that alone, you can say, who do you need to choose? Invariably.
Let's do a
Invariably.
test. Let's just do a current test and see who is your best cricketers in South Africa. And that's how you go about selecting whether it's a team, it's a team, whether it's your development, because that's how we did it back in the day. You go to an academy, you fall into a certain category, you've played, you go to the academy after playing 2 or 3 seasons, they see you've got potential. Some of the guys get fast track, which we understand because we can see that they've got potential.
Yeah.
Cricketers can see that.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll say, now this guy can play, maybe push him through a little bit quicker. So the stats should determine how we go about selecting teams, selecting people, and then also make sure everybody get the same type of beginning, same grassroots cricket.
All
the townships. Just give them a bat and a ball. Let them play. Just expose them to the game, see if they're interested. All townships. It should be very easy. Just a bat and a ball.
Yeah, that's what KFC cricket is doing right now. But yes, that's all our time for today, Garnett. I can speak to you for hours and hours. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to comment and tell me the name of the guy that every single person I interviewed spoke about. Spoke about very highly. This is the boots, the same boots that Garnett went on tour with in Australia. And we're giving this away on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like and turn on your notifications. Garnett Kruger Massacre. Thank you, man. Thank you, bye, man.
Joey, thanks, man. Nice chatting to you.
Nice chatting to you, my bro. We have to do another one. We have to speak about how we have to go to the grassroots levels and how we can follow somebody from the grassroots levels that is going to play for South Africa. And what you made was a great point. an extremely great point. You don't have to look at the names of the players. Just use, this guy played 5 games, he scored 500s, and this is his average. This guy played 5 games, he scored 250s, 100, and this is his average. Then people say it's not as simple as that. I watched the movie Moneyball, and in Moneyball, that is basically what they did. In any case, thank you for watching, guys.
Audio Jungle.